The ability to sleep comfortably in the mountains is one that every hiker should respect. It's not as easy as it seems. Mountains at night are a very hostile place to try and sleep, so here are 5 tips for a better night's sleep on the mountain. Tip number 1, buy a decent tent and sleeping bag. You want to get a tent that can withstand all the elements of the mountain. Maybe look at getting a season 3 or a season 4 tent. But if you want to keep it lightweight, you can always get yourself a nice bivvy. Your sleeping bag will determine how warm you are and therefore have a high impact on how much you enjoy the experience. Take a look at getting a sleeping bag with down, as it has more warmth for weight. This does mean you have to be super organised at keeping it dry though. Top tip number 2, keep your kit dry. There's nothing worse than getting into a wet sleeping bag, as it often rains in the UK. Pack all of your kit into dry bags, with your sleeping bag in at least 2. When you erect your tent, keep your sleeping bag in its dry bag until you need it. Keep the inner tent free from all water, i.e. if you have wet clothes, take them off in the porch and don't take them into the inner tent. And keep your dry clothes, dry, especially if you're on a multi-day trip. And remember, if it's still raining outside, just put your wet clothes back on the next morning. Top tip number 3, take a backup lighter. Now most stoves are sold with its own ignition system. Often this fails, so take a backup lighter. You could take a Zippo or a disposable lighter, or take your own fire still, but remember you have to keep that dry. Top tip number 4, don't burn your own tent. The biggest danger while sleeping outside or wild camping is the use of stoves. Cook away from your tent to avoid burning it down, and also this avoids you getting carbon monoxide poisoning. Many famous alpinists have suffered with the latter, and we've come close to actually losing some of the superstars. And top tip number 5, leave it as you find it. The beauty of wild camping and sleeping outside is of course the wilderness, so make sure you leave the environment as you found it. This will mean taking all waste, human or otherwise, with you when you leave. And there we have it. I hope these tips help you out. Do you have any more tips you'd like to share? Then why not leave them in the comments. And to read a more in-depth review, follow the link in the description. Thanks for watching and happy hiking.